Hello and welcome to our special edition of The Last Sip. I'm Amara Jones, and this Memorial Day, we're giving you our full interview with Rashad Robinson, Executive Director of Color of Change. We discussed how Color of Change mobilizes its network of over 1 million members to create social change, and how communities of color can actively shift major political structures. Color of Change is a digital civil rights organization of nearly 1 million people who are organized and organize themselves into a broad array of campaigns to apply power to affect change and structural change. And so we're thrilled to be here to talk to you in our secret bat location.
It's great to be here, and congratulations on the show.
Thank you so much. Yeah. So one of the reasons why we can't actually disclose where we are or even show B-roll of where we are leads into the first question that I want to ask you, which is, where from the perspective of Color of Change, given sort of the breadth of your activities, offices all across the country, an array of campaigns, where are we on civil rights in the United States?
So I think we're in this place where people are having a lot of conversations. Every single day we're hit with all sorts of information about civil rights and racial justice. You know, we see Black Twitter, we see conversations happening at kitchen tables, but we can't mistake presence, visibility, or even awareness for power. And we say that a lot at Color of Change. And oftentimes, just because there's big conversations, just because we have a pop star that can stop the internet when she announces she's pregnant or shuts down a major concert, just because we have a Black first family or had a Black first family in the White House, doesn't mean that that actually changes the rules. And power is the ability to change the rules. And so I think right now, in terms of where we're at, structurally in terms of civil rights in this country, is about building enough power to force decision makers to be nervous, to force real change to the rules, both the written rules of policy and the unwritten rules of culture. And actually, Color of Change is well over 1 million members now. We're about 1.25 million members all around the country, Black folks and their allies of every race who are trying to translate that presence into power.
Mm-hmm. So given the need to translate presence into power, what is the thing right now in the perception of race in this country that isn't making people nervous, right? Because you're saying we have to use this power to make people nervous so that we can change structures. So what about where we are in race in the country isn't making people nervous?
No, I mean, I think in many ways we're at this place where people see conversations, they hear information, but folks are not oftentimes pushed to actually have to do anything. We hear these things like, we need to have a conversation around race. And I'm like, no, we need action on race. We've had a lot of conversations about race. We like to think about that there's all sorts of opportunities to take action. There's so many places, from criminal justice to economic justice to what's happening in voting rights and democracy. And so we think about what's the right lever, what's the right pivot point, where if we direct that energy, we can force actual change. And what are the right strategies? And so sometimes it's, getting people aligned around a petition, or making phone calls, or running ads, or doing the inside-outside game. All sort of leveraging attention, energy, and power, so those who are making decisions recognize that there will be consequences for ignoring, for abusing, for mistreating Black folks. And as a result of building power here at Color of Change, when we win victories for everyone. When Black people win, they win structural equality for all people.
I mean, I think that the strategy is important that you're talking about, the way that you mobilize, the way you're applying pressure. But I'm curious as to where you think the pressure points are needed given where we are on race in this country.
Yeah, so I think really we have a lot of opportunity with corporations. Corporate power has really impacted every facet of our life, from the criminal justice system to media justice to the economy. And so often we direct our marches at our energy, whether they are our figurative or literal marches, at government and halls of power, when actually the sort of Geppetto to Pinocchio is actually the Geppetto. The folks who are controlling things are actually the corporations and corporate power, and the ways that corporations have gained deeper power since Citizens United. We think a lot about narrative and narrative power here, and sort of the story that we immerse people in that sort of moves them to action and action on the right things. Far too often people see inequality, poverty, racism as unfortunate, almost like a car accident. And when I say some people, it's not even like our opponents on the right. Sometimes like in our barbershops or our beauty salons, folks who are poor sort of blamed for their interactions. And we see it throughout pop culture. Some of the biggest movies that come out are sort of about this bootstrap mentality without actually recognizing how do we actually get people boots in the first place so they can have bootstraps. So people see inequality as unfortunate rather than unjust. Then we get the wrong things. And so then people will operate with black people and black culture from a charity mindset. Oh, we need to build empathy for black folks. And we at Color of Change believe we need to build power. We need to build power to change the rules. When people build empathy, what we get is false solutions. We get things like cleaning up inner city schools instead of actually changing the inequality of public education. We get reentry programs instead of ending mass incarceration. In so many contexts, over and over again, when people stop at empathy rather than power, we get solutions that don't actually end the hostile climate that black people live in. And so we approach each situation as how do we change the written and unwritten rules? And how do we give voice, not just to the structures that are impeding people, because that's important, but who is actually manufacturing inequality? Because moving people from seeing bad decision makers, that they may say poor people are bad decision makers, right? They may say that. And we say, oh no, it's structural. That's like moving people from apples to elephants, not even apples to oranges. What we have to be better at doing, and what oftentimes traditional organizations that take a lot of money from corporations, the mainstream Democratic Party, many of those institutions are unable to actually name the opponents, to name those folks that are manufacturing inequality and poverty, the big corporations, political leaders, because they're all tied together.